Drama school auditions, especially for musical theatre, tend to have a lot of different sections to the audition. For example, you might have your dance round, your singing and acting round, but then on top of this, a lot of drama schools also tend to have some kind of interview section. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about this section of the audition and give you some tips and ideas on how to prepare. If you're new to my channel, then welcome to the Performing Arts and Me. My name is Millie and I'm a second year student at London Studio Centre on the musical theatre pathway, and I make videos about the performing arts, my general life experiences and drama school auditions. So if you're auditioning this year or if you're interested in any of those topics, then please do subscribe. I'm really trying to grow my channel at the moment and it would really help me out. So onto the topic of today's video, which is interviews. So I did an interview of some sort for around half of the schools that I auditioned for in my second year of auditioning, which was for entry in September 2022. I say some sort of interview because the interviews kind of ranged from like just having a chat with someone after like a section of like one of the other parts of your audition to actually sitting down at a table and having a conversation, more like you would think of like a traditional interview. So there was a big range of them. I'm going to give you my 5 tips to help you with your drama school interviews. My first tip is to be honest. For example, don't lie about how long you've been dancing. It's unlikely to benefit either you or the panel if you're not being honest with them. So tell the truth because firstly, that's the right thing to do. And also, you don't really know why they're asking, so just don't lie. My second tip is to be yourself because they want to get to know you. And I know like everyone says be yourself and it's not always the easiest thing to do, but something that I've really come to appreciate this year is that the best way to stand out from a crowd is to be uniquely you. And I know that's something that people say all the time. That literally is the most unique thing about you, that there is not another you. So just don't feel like you have to put on a front or like put on a different voice or something. Just be yourself. My third tip is to be polite and professional. Some people might say that this contradicts with the second one because you're supposed to be being yourself, but I personally think that you can be yourself in a professional context, and an interview is a professional context. So you're not changing who you are, you're just being yourself in a professional context. So I'm not an expert on this, I haven't done that many interviews, but things like wait until you're asked to sit down, shaking hands if that's what's called for in that context. If someone offers you their hand to shake, then shake it. Make eye contact, smile, say thank you at the end, things like that. My fourth tip is to be prepared. So do some research into the school and have a think about answers to the types of questions they might ask you. I'm going to give you some points on the type of things you might want to research and also the types of questions that you might want to have thought about beforehand in a minute. But for now, yeah, tip 4, be prepared. And my fifth and final tip is to not stress, because it is literally just a conversation with another person. Like, I'm pretty sure you probably do that most days. You have a conversation with another person, and that is what this is. The person interviewing you is also a human being, so just try and remember that. The person you're talking to is just another human being trying to find out a little bit more about you, and that's what the interview is. So just relax and try not to stress about it. Okay, so on to which topics you might want to research beforehand, and also some of the things you might want to think about when it comes to preparing answers to questions. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying I cannot remember much of my interviews, so I can't really remember all of the questions. I remember like a couple of bits, but this is just a list of ideas that I came up with off the top of my head of things that I think could possibly come up in an interview context, or that it might be worth having prepared just in case they do come up. So don't feel like you definitely have to have an answer to all of these and they have to be memorised and blah blah blah. Remember, it's just a conversation, but it might be helpful to have thought about some of these things in advance, even if it's just to make you feel more prepared. So some things that you might want to research include the school, the location, accommodation options, the facilities that the school has, things like that. Also maybe some of the teaching faculty, finance and funding options for your course, and also thinking about like which of those you might want to take up or you might need to take up. Other courses they offer, and if you'd be interested in any of those as well. The course that you are applying for and that you're going for is like your top course, like what the units are on that, what the modules are, what types of classes you can do, anything you can find out about that really. And yeah, like the subjects they offer, also if they have any like extra curricular things or like shows they do, or shows that are part of your programme, or any unique selling points that the school has that makes them stand out from other schools, or basically anything you can find out about the school. Great places to look are on their website, on their social media. Also speaking to people that go there if you happen to know anyone that goes there. Like if anyone has any questions about LSC, feel free to message me over on my Instagram, which is at Performing Arts and Me. And now I have a slightly longer list of things that might be helpful to know about yourself, or things that it might be helpful to think about before the day. Just so that you have some ideas in your head and you're not put on the spot, you don't feel like under pressure and can't think of anything. Firstly, whether you've got any other offers from schools, and possibly also how many other auditions you've done, where you've auditioned for, where you're planning to audition for, things like that. I'm pretty sure something along these lines of where I've auditioned for already, where I'm planning to audition for, and how many other offers I've got and where they're for. I'm pretty sure those things did come up in at least a couple of my auditions, so that's definitely one to have already thought about, particularly if, like me, you were doing like 10 auditions or something like that. Make sure you can remember where you're auditioning for. Another thing you might want to think about is how long you've been doing singing, dancing and acting for. Also how much you are currently singing, dancing and or acting in a week. Little side note with this one, this wasn't in my interview, this was in my LSC physio assessment that I had as part of my audition day, and the physio asked me how many hours I was currently dancing for a week, and I was like, I do not know, because I was on my foundation course at Bird, and I was like, well, I know roughly how many hours a week I have of lessons, but they're not all dance lessons. Anyway, so maybe have a think about that one beforehand. I'm gonna have to stop talking quite as much about each point because I've got a lot to get through. So here are some of the other things that you might want to think about. Your goals. So if you're looking at musical theatre, I would think, where do you want to perform? So West End, tours, Disney, things like that. And then maybe a dream role or character or like ensemble part that you want to play, and also thinking about like dream shows that you'd want to be in. How the school can help you get to those goals could be another thing. What you like about the school and why you'd like to go there. Your strengths and weaknesses, and be honest here, I think it shows like a level of maturity if you're able to say like, this is something I'm good at, this is something that I know I'm not so good at, but I want to work on. And I think being prepared to work on your weaknesses and knowing what they are is really helpful. And yeah, shows a level of maturity and that you're more ready for professional training. Any performances you've seen recently, and also the most recent show you've seen, and the director and choreographer of it, and the composer and lyricist. I feel like this is something that's probably unlikely to come up, but having like one show with like 5 names, choreographer, director, lyricist, composer, maybe like someone that was in it. I just think it's helpful to have that in your back pocket. I don't remember it coming up in one of my interviews, but I just think it's really handy to have. But yeah, the most recent show you've seen and those 5 names. Your inspirations, so maybe that's someone or something, but I would have maybe at least someone who inspires you in the industry. And as an additional thing, you can maybe have someone who inspires you outside of it. Why you want a career in musical theatre or in whatever avenue you'd like to take. And I think I've said this already, but why you want to train at that specific college. Also, you probably know these things already, but things like what you're currently doing, so like what your A-levels are, if you're on a gap year, what you're doing in your gap year, and where you're currently training. I'd also recommend just having at least one question you can ask them, which isn't something that you could find through your research, because the likelihood is at the end of the interview they'll be like, have you got any questions? And I personally just think it's nice to have something to ask them, but some people might say you don't need it. Okay, and that is it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed. I hope it's been helpful. If you have any other suggestions of things that people might want to research based on questions that you might have been asked in your interviews, or just ideas of things for people to research in general, then please do leave them down in the comments, because that would be really helpful for everyone. And also, as always, if you've got any questions or video suggestions, please leave them down in the comments. I'd really love to read them. If you've got all the way through this video, then I'd really appreciate you letting me know if you like this video by giving it a like, and also subscribing, because as I said, I'm trying to grow my channel, and yeah, I would really appreciate it. And I think that is everything for today's video. Thank you very much for watching. Bye!